Here is a Lakewood 16-inch table fan that I picked up a couple days ago from somebody who was selling it on Marketplace on the cheap, which is always good. I think this is my first Lakewood table fan. I have several box fans, a couple of high velocity fans, a couple of window fans, but I think this is my first table fan. Definitely one of their later models. It says manufactured in China for Lakewood Engineering, model R16/DSK, and the date is January 2001. It's kind of an odd fan. I would have guessed that if I was ever going to find a Lakewood table fan, it wouldn't have been this one. It probably would have been one of those brown blade tan colored ones from the 80s. It's got kind of a weird oscillator. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Kind of looks like a worm. Motor housing is different too. I don't know what this is. I mean, it looks like kind of a generic sort of fan. The fan head, like just the blade and the guards, kind of look like a lot of generic white table fans from the 90s and 2000s. But the motor housing and the oscillator knob, I don't think I've probably seen it before, I just don't remember. The base looks weird too. It's kind of a weird teardrop shape, but it has kind of a hump to it also, and it kind of reminds me of the old all metal fans from like the 40s and 50s, like this one, that have that similar kind of base shape. I don't know if that's what inspired it or not. I haven't really run the fan yet. I plugged it in and I turned it on once just to see if it actually ran, and it had a hard time starting on the low speed, so I think we'll start it on high first. This doesn't have a tilt knob either. This is like one of the automatic, not automatic, but you know, the tilt that kind of snaps into place. So that's kind of nice. It's not, I mean, it does seem like a generic kind of cheap fan on one hand, and I'm sure that by this point in the Lakewood history, I think they were just hanging on by the skin of their teeth. I'm sure they probably weren't proud to be selling this fan. I'm sure that they would have much rather have been selling a fan that they had made themselves in their own factory, but that was the case of a lot of American companies at that time. Another story for another day, but anyway, let's run it. Here's high speed. Kind of a crazy startup. It's kind of a gnarly startup sound. I don't know if that's just because the bearings are stiff. It seems to be running okay, but I don't think it's at its full potential. It's moving a pretty good volume of air, but it doesn't have a whole lot of power behind it. I gotta think that once this warms up a little bit, or if I were to just clean and oil it, it would probably be running faster than this. See what happens if we drop it to medium. Yeah, I've definitely never seen this fan before. As I said, if I was going to find a Lakewood table fan ever, I would not have expected this to be the first one. Glad I found it though. It definitely fits in with a lot of other weird, uncommon fans that I've found at thrift stores and on Marketplace and stuff like that. Drop it to low speed. Pull it out here a little bit so we can run the oscillation. I want to see how much it bogs down on the low speed. Not too bad. It's pretty quiet. Definitely needs to be oiled, but I think this might be the correct speed that it's supposed to be running at, or that it would be running at if it was oiled. It doesn't seem like it's bogged down or struggling or anything. See if the oscillation works. I'm not sure who would have made this fan. There's no other information other than it was made for Lakewood. You can hear a little bit of a cord stretch in there when it turns that way. I'm not sure why I've never seen this before, or why we don't see more of these around. I don't know if it was just a low production unit, or maybe they were just crappy fans and didn't last very long. Maybe there was a recall or something like that. I don't know. Might be worth looking up. Back to medium. It vaguely resembles some Medea and Holmes fans that I've seen, but not exactly. Back to high. Not a bad spin down. It moves about as much air as I would expect a generic 16-inch fan from the 90s or 2000s to move. It's not like galaxy powerful or anything like that, but it's not bad either. It's pretty decent. Um, I like that the person who sold it seems to have at least cleaned it up a little bit. I mean, the motor definitely, I think, needs to be cleaned and oiled, but the fan itself is pretty clean. So, definitely appreciate that. Here's a rear view of the fan. Pretty neat fan, actually. Like I said, I don't think that Lakewood was probably particularly proud of having to sell this thing at that stage in the game, but at least they kept it interesting and made something weird and kind of cool. I want to check out the startup sounds a little more. We'll do the high speed first. I don't think I've heard startup sounds like that. Not quite like that on a table fan. It almost sounds like an old Lakewood box fan or something. Here's medium. And low. And from here we'll go up to high. And off. Alright, well, pretty cool fan. Great find. Does anybody know anything about these? Why we don't see more of them out there, out and about? Were there just not that many of them made, or was there a recall? Were they just crappy fans that didn't last very long? I don't know, but there you have it, the Lakewood 16-inch table fan from January 2001. Thanks for watching.